Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today. So I'm Annalyn Bergen. I'm the Clean Buildings Compliance Lead. I'll be your presenter for today. With me are some of my team members. They'll be assisting me with some of the questions, as Jeff said. Please enter your questions in the chat so you don't forget when we have time in the end. Judy or Donnie will try their best to answer them within the chat as well. However, we dedicated some time at the end of the presentation to answer them. So today I'll be providing general information on Tier 2 covered buildings. So this slide represents our agency's purpose. Commerce touches every aspect of community and economic development, from serving communities by providing grants for homeless programs or small businesses, building infrastructure, growing the economy, to promoting public safety. Here at Commerce, we strengthen communities. So I want to provide a brief introduction to our building performance staff. So you have Josette, Derek, and Brittany with the incentive team, KJ and Michael working on data, Luke, Johnny, Judy, and James providing technical support, myself and our new staff members, Dylan and Jeff, working on outreach, education, and compliance. So we've grown significant over the past few years, and we are almost fully staffed. Our entire team is dedicated to providing timely, actionable, and clear information about the Clean Buildings Performance Standard. So what to expect today? I'm going to give you some information about some background information. We'll go through the timeline for Tier 2 building owners and the events coming up for Tier 2, compliance requirements. We'll talk about the roles and responsibilities, how to get started with benchmarking, the energy management plan, operations and maintenance program. I'll give some information about the incentive program, exemptions, penalties, and the support and resources out there. And then we'll conclude with some Q&A and let you know about the other events coming up. So, you've seen this before, buildings have a profound impact on the environment. The building sector is the second largest carbon polluter behind transportation. Existing buildings create unique challenges and opportunities as the state works to meet its greenhouse gas limits by 2030, 2040, and 2050. So investing in these building energy efficiencies is the most cost-effective way to significantly reduce greenhouse gas emissions. The Washington legislature recognized that it's in the state's interest to maximize full potential of energy efficiency standards, incentives, programs, and codes to keep both energy costs low and to meet greenhouse gas emission reduction goals. So as a result, the Clean Buildings Law was authorized in House Bill 1257 in the 2019 legislative session. It was based on ASHRAE Standard 100, which covers energy efficiency in existing buildings. This is the reference standard. Commerce has developed amendments to the standard to conform to the Clean Buildings legislation. You'll find those amendments under WAC 19450. So you can find an integrated document that incorporates all of the state amendments into Standard 100. A link to this document can be found in our Clean Buildings website. Judy, if you could post that in the chat, that would be helpful to our attendees. The requirements of the standard applies to Tier 1 and Tier 2. So this law charged Commerce with rulemaking, notifying building owners, administering incentives, and supporting mandatory compliance. So the Clean Buildings Performance Standard opens up opportunities for sustainability, an opportunity to balance the demand of the occupants, environmental protection, and lower operational costs. So implementing the standard can save building owners money over time by optimizing the building, decreasing energy use, and utility costs. Implementing the standard can increase indoor environmental air quality that improves the health and comfort of the occupants, which can lead to increased productivity. So implementation can help meet the state's Implementing the standard can help meet the state's sustainability goals to encourage to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. It can encourage increased funding opportunities to implement much needed building investments. So for example, you have a facility manager who they can leverage the law to convince their leadership to invest in their own properties through operations and maintenance, which is a better option essentially than paying penalties. So by reducing the energy use of buildings, we can reduce adverse impacts to the environment and decrease operating costs for commercial buildings. So this slide pretty much outlines the legislative and rulemaking activities over the past 5 years. We've been very busy. It's gone through such an evolution within the last 5 years. It all began in 2019 with when the legislature passed House Bill 1257, the Clean Buildings Act. It was the first in nation building performance standard that applied throughout the whole state and not just a city or smaller jurisdiction. And through Senate Bill 5722, the law was expanded to buildings between 20 and 50,000 square feet, including multifamily. This year, we conducted rulemaking on decarbonizing district energy systems. That's through House Bill 1390. We concluded the workshops last month and filed our CR 102. The public hearing is scheduled for June 4. You know, we appreciate everyone who's participated over the years with these rulemaking workshops. Your comments and input and engagement have been super valuable to us. So this is another timeline that shows kind of major events for Tier 2 buildings up to year 2031. Hopefully this can assist you and your staff in planning for the future. So let's look at it from left to right. In 2022, the Clean Buildings Performance Standard, as I mentioned before, was expanded through Senate Bill 5722. Last year, we conducted rulemaking, and the beginning of this year, Tier 2 rules were adopted. So next year, Tier 2 building owners will receive their notification, and the Tier 2 incentive program will launch. 2 years later, July 2027, is the compliance reporting. Fast forward to 2029, Commerce will evaluate the benchmarking data that we received in 2027 and then submit a report to the legislation. By 2030, we would conduct probably another round of rulemaking, adding a performance standard for Tier 2, but taking all the consideration of the cost of compliance and the data, benchmarking data that we received over the years. So the thing is, the rules will not take effect before the end of the legislative session, so pending any actions from the legislation. So let's get to the matter at hand. What is a Tier 2 building? This is the actual definition of a Tier 2 building that's written in the standard. A Tier 2 building are buildings that are greater than 50,000 square feet, and it's between 20 and 50,000 square feet, excluding parking garage, but includes all multifamily greater than 20,000 square feet. Okay. So during rulemaking, we amended most of these sections seen here, including adding Annex Y. This is a breakdown of the Clean Buildings Performance Standard by section. The standard is comprised of Standard 100 with the state amendments WAC 19450. Again, you can download this standard, this integrated document through our website. The current version is February 2024. That includes the Tier 2 rules. If your copy does not say February 2024, you have the old version. Okay, we are, so we're currently in the process of identifying Tier 2 buildings. For Tier 1 buildings, there are roughly around 8,352 buildings. That's what we have as of now. We don't really have an estimate for Tier 2 building count. Our data team is working hard to ensure we meet our deadlines. So after that's all done, after identifying all those Tier 2 buildings, they'll be added to the portal. And the goal is by July 1st, 2025, Commerce will provide Tier 2 building owners with notification of their requirements. So we continue to develop we continue to develop the portal to support the new rules and make it more user-friendly. But if you're confused by something, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. If you're a Tier 1 building owner and need assistance connecting to the portal, you'll just need to fill out a request. We'll email you the link. Just email buildings@commerce.wa.gov. Judy will put that in the chat, so you could just copy that that email address. Again, Tier 2 buildings are not in the portal, so therefore there's no Tier 2 building owners are not required to interact with the portal just yet. That won't happen until 2025. Here you have the Tier 2 requirements. Tier 2 covered buildings will require benchmarking as well as implementing an energy management plan and operations and maintenance program in accordance with the standard. So the main difference kind of between the requirements of Tier 1 and Tier 2 is that performance metric. For Tier 1, a building is required to either meet the target or comply with the investment criteria. So let's take a look at other differences between the two. So this graphic kind of summarizes the difference between Tier 1 and Tier 2. Tier 1 covered buildings, they're greater than 50,000 square feet. Tier 2 are between 20 and 50,000 square feet. Tier 1 does not include multifamily residential. Tier 2 includes all multifamily residential, including all multifamily residential over 20,000 square feet. So Tier 1 compliance with the standard includes benchmarking, that EMP and O&M, and that energy performance metric. So Tier 2 does not have that performance metric, which means that they don't have to meet the EUI target, they don't have to do an audit, and they would not have to complete a life cycle cost analysis. Mandatory compliance for Tier 1 begins in 2026 for the largest cohort of buildings. Those are buildings greater than 220,000 square feet. For Tier 2, we have some good lead time. The compliance date is not until 2027. So let's highlight some of the key roles that will help benchmark and develop and implement and maintain that energy management plan and operations and maintenance program. So the building owner ultimately is responsible for compliance. A building owner is the individual or entity possessing title to a building. In the event of a land lease, the building owner is the entity possessing the title to the building on the leased land. So for Tier 1 buildings, you've heard this, if you're familiar with the rules of Tier 1, a qualified person is required for compliance for Tier 1. For Tier 2, a qualified energy manager is required. What's a qualified energy manager? A qualified energy manager is an individual designated by the building owner. This can be an internal employee, such as their current facilities manager, or a hired consultant. The qualified energy manager has 2 years of experience, including educational and or professional experience with commercial building operation and or building energy management, in addition to successful completion of the Clean Buildings Tier 2 training program as specified by Commerce. Commerce is the AHJ, or meets the definition of a qualified person. So QEM, Qualified Energy Manager, is responsible for establishing the EUIT, the EUI, and submitting all forms, developing, implementing the O&M and EMP, and attesting that they were complete, and submitting all compliance documents. So here's a general overview of the steps to getting started and complying with Tier 2 requirements. The building owner would identify that QEM, that Qualified Energy Manager, and they would be the ones to benchmark the building's energy use and determine the target. I'm sure you're thinking, wait, hold on. Didn't you say that Tier 2 buildings didn't have to meet a target? Well, they don't. They do not have to meet a target, but they are required to calculate a target for the building. So by having a target, a building owner can compare their building energy use, which can help them understand if their building is performing better or worse. We hope it inspires building owners to examine their building and make more energy efficiency improvements. So the qualified energy manager will also be the one to, as mentioned before, develop and implement that O&M and EMP. And then after all that implementation, they can attest that it's been done and submit the documents. So let's break it down in the next few slides. So benchmarking is required. You'll need to create an Energy Star portfolio manager account. That is the accounting system for energy use for the Clean Buildings Performance Standard. So then you would contact your provider to integrate your building energy data into Energy Star. It really helps to understand your utilities provider's role in compliance. Utilities are required to provide energy consumption data to building owners upon request. Large utility providers, by large, I mean those who serve greater than 25,000 customers, are required to provide this data using Energy Star's automated upload protocol. Smaller utilities, such as PUDs, are required to provide data to building owners in the Excel document meeting the Energy Star portfolio manager specifications. So once you've established, once you've gotten that all into Energy Star and you put your energy data use, 12 months of it, into Energy Star, then you're able to calculate the weather normalized energy use intensity. So WNEUI, that pretty much takes into account the seasons and weathers for a whole year where in the location of that building. So once you've established that, then you could create the EUIT and then compare the weather normalized EUI and the target. And again, a tier 2 covered building, they're not required to meet the target at this time. We're just expecting you to kind of see and compare. Okay, the next component of compliance is developing an energy management plan and implementing the operations and maintenance program. Both are living documents. And EMP should identify performance and energy efficiency goals for the buildings and bundle those goals in a living report that's available to the building owner, operations staff, and other occupants or tenants of the building. This document will change as the building and its system change, and it's used to report energy efficiency over time, as well as tracking compliance with the standard. So the O&M is a component of the EMP that inventories the building systems, establishes performance objectives, track inspections and maintenance of the systems, and establishes kind of a consistency in the building operations staff. So essentially, if there were to be staff turnover or someone moves on, the new person can essentially take these living documents, read over them, and be able to understand the different components and systems and protocols to make the facilities operate efficiently. So many commercial buildings may already have these types of programs in place. So be sure that these existing systems are aligned with the requirements outlined in the standard in Section 6 and Normative Annex L. So we've kind of taken that high level look of the requirements of the O&M and EMP, but let's take a look at the benefits of these plans the benefits of the plan can provide to building owners. You know, with a good functioning EMP and O&M, you can better understand your building's energy use through energy use analysis, developing that EUI. You can get an idea that your building is performing, how your building is performing in relation to others with similar use types. So you can also improve facility and system performance. Establishing inspections and maintenance tasks can lead to improved preventive maintenance, better performance, and extend the equipment life. You can reduce energy use, which saves money. Knowing how your building works and how it uses energy can lead to more efficient operation of building systems, which can in turn reduce energy use and save money. Okay. It can reduce performance drifts over time. Consistent review of building energy use and established maintenance and operations protocol can help to reduce system failures and optimize building operations through the life of the system and prevent performance failures. With a good E&P and O&M, you create a more resilient buildings. These O&M programs can help identify potential hazards in the buildings, help implement preventive maintenance protocols rather than working reactively when system fails. It can also identify opportunities for more resilient energy resources. And lastly, having a good O&M and E&P supports future regulatory compliance efforts. Implementing an E&P and O&M will get the ball rolling for building owners that will may need to comply for future performance requirements for tier 2 buildings. So let me go into briefly describe some exemption, penalties, and incentives that apply to tier 2. If you're familiar with the tier 1 exemptions, it's pretty much the same list. So the exemptions for tier 2, at least 50% of the conditioned floor area is unoccupied, less than 20,000 square feet of, if the building has less than 20,000 square feet of conditioned space, it could be exempt. If it has more than 50% of the floor area designated as factory group F or high hazard group H, if it's an agricultural structure, if it's pending demolition or already demolished, or if the building owner is experiencing financial hardship. So the exemption application timeframe allows for allows for you to submit 2 years prior to compliance. So 2 years prior to compliance is in 2025. So what's due in 2025, tier 2, incentive application is launch, early compliance and exemption applications are open. So big year next year. Okay, penalties. Penalties for tier 2 are not to exceed 30,000, penalties for tier 2 are not to exceed 30 cents a square foot. So let's look at the largest building in this tier 2 cohort. So the tier 2 is between 20 and 50,000. The largest is 50,000 square feet. At 30 cents a square foot would be, what would the penalties be for that, right? Looking at my notes, it is $15,000. So how about the smallest? At 30 cents a square foot, that would be around $6,000. Okay. So there are many avenues a building owner can take if come July 1st, 2027, the building owner doesn't report compliance. The language for tier 2 penalties can be found in Annex Y of the standard. If we don't hear from the building owner, they'll receive a notice called Notice of Violation, Opportunity to Correct, and Intent to Assess Penalties, or NOVCI. So if you received this notification, the NOVCI, you can try to comply. You can apply for an exemption, apply for conditional compliance, and conditional compliance gives you 180 days to complete the O&M and E&P requirements. You can request for a hearing or just simply pay the penalties outright. Let's look at those dates. So in my footnote there, it says building owners may be eligible to apply for early adopter incentive, right? So the program, the incentive program ends July 1st, 2030. So that means it ends 2 years after the reporting. So essentially, you can, if come July 2027, if there is still funding with the incentive funds, you can apply for, you can still apply for incentive even after. So tier 2 buildings that demonstrate compliance with benchmarking, energy management plan, and operations and maintenance program requirements may receive incentives of 30 cents per square foot. This is excluding any parking garage or an unconditioned space. So Commerce may implement a tiered incentive structure for upgrading multifamily buildings, where building owners provide commitment to anti-displacement provisions. So again, the program launches in 2025, that is next year, and ends in 2030. The Clean Buildings Incentive Team will begin its workshop on, I believe, on June 13. I'll have the dates here shortly to develop the guidelines for the incentive program. We hope you can join us and provide your feedback and input and have a little say of how this program is developed. So guidelines will be finalized by the end of the year before the incentive program launches July 1st, 2025. So here are those workshop dates I was referring to, and I was correct, June 13, 2024. The date and registration information can be found in two places. There's the Clean Buildings homepage and the incentive program website. We hope you can join us. Again, engage with us, help us develop these guidelines for Tier 2 incentive. I believe in the passing of House Bill 1976, this also authorized Commerce to enhance Tier 2 funds as well. So this would be the opportunity to provide your feedback then for Tier 2 incentives. Let's talk about Tier 2 building owner support. So if you've interacted with Commerce, you know that we are here to support you. There's a lot of support out there to help you kind of navigate the Clean Buildings Performance Standard compliance. You know, you can connect with us through our customer support ticket. It's just a form you could fill out. You can email us. You can call us. We can call you back. You could also utilize the various utility accelerator programs or the Smart Building Center help desk. Ask for Rebecca. She's a friend of mine. She will definitely help you. So for benchmarking, you can connect with Energy Star Portfolio Manager. I believe monthly they have these live trainings. They have recorded trainings. All of this is all free, provided to you to help you kind of go through the steps of compliance. Okay, the Clean Buildings team is here to help building owners through the process by providing extensive outreach, education, and support for Tier 1 and Tier 2 compliance. Just to highlight a few things on the slide, you know, we're going to do some targeted outreach to multifamily, small businesses, and local governments. We're going to provide a training program for qualified energy managers at free of charge, of course. I want to encourage everyone to check out our Tier 2 How to Comply page. You could get to that page by going to the Clean Buildings homepage. I believe Judy could put that in the chat. And from there, you could also navigate to our guidance document library on the website. You know, we update our webpage pretty often, and we add guidance documents pretty regularly. So we hope you could check it out more than just once. So just know that we're here to support you. You know, Jeff and Dylan, they are new staff members. They will be the first point of contact through the building's email. You know, they're going to be the ones distributing those questions, maybe take some of those questions and those requests. We have a tech team to provide technical support, data team to clean up that data. You know, overall, we're here to support you. If you'd like to schedule a meeting with us about your situation, you have some unique spaces, please don't hesitate to connect with us. We always try to fit you in as soon as possible. We're happy to provide some customized support for you. So we understand the standard can be complicated, confusing. Our goal is pretty much to make your experience to the path of compliance as clear as possible. And that's what I have for presenting the information. Do we have any questions out there?
Yeah, we've got a couple that have come in, mainly around the information that we're providing and the links to our webinars. And Judy, thank you for putting that in there in the chat. But just to I guess repeat, there's a link in the chat, and we'll send this out as well. That takes you to the library of training videos and workshops that we've put together, and this one will be on there as well here in the next few days. So it takes us a minute to get it up, but it will go up there. So that's to come. Let's see. So another question is, if I am not the building owner, but a tenant renting space, what are my requirements?
That would really depend on your lease agreement with the building owner.
Okay. And what is the Commerce provided training for qualified energy manager?
The Commerce provided training will probably most likely be hosted by a partnering agency. More than likely, it'll be the Smart Building Center, and it'll start sometime next year.
Excellent.
Yes. Please subscribe to our bulletin. That's where you'll get all the announcements. A lot of things happen in the background, and then we announce it through the bulletin, and that's probably the best way to receive up-to-date information. If you don't want to subscribe because you don't like those spam mail coming through, you could always check in on our homepage. Most of the information will end up there as well.
Perfect. And another question that's come in is, are Tier 2 buildings required to submit forms A, B, C, etc., just the same as Tier 1 buildings?
There will be a list of forms that will be required to submit compliance. If you go to the standard, download the standard, go to section normative annex Y, I believe section or 6, Y6, I think. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong, Judy. That kind of gives you the list of, maybe it's section 3, but it's in section Y. It gives you the list of documents required for
compliance forms are section 6. You were correct.
Thank you.
Perfect. And we have someone asking if we can repeat the intent for performance requirement for Tier 2.
So there is no performance requirement for Tier 2. It's essentially just reporting your energy data and having an O&M and EMP developed come compliance date. The performance requirement may come, if it does come, it will come in, what's that date? Judy, if you could remind me, 2030?
29 and 2030, and then it can't take place. It won't go into effect until after the legislative session, 2031.
Yes.
Do you want to go back to that slide?
Yeah, let's see if I can get there quickly. It's kind of a slow animation flipping through these. See, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
That's why. Let's.
Right. There is a second question about that same question, so I think it's worthwhile to take the time to go back.
Do you see the timeline?
Yes.
Okay, there you go. So if you know anything about, legislative session, any of this kind of process. Anything can happen every year of legislative session. So even though it says within the RCW that we would have rules adopted, that may change between 2029 when we send that report and 2030. So this is just kind of maybe ahead, a performance standard for tier 2.
Great. All right. Are there sample energy management programs and O&M plans available for review?
That is a great question. So our commerce team is working on getting templates for tier 2 building owners for O&M and EMP. We hope to have that the end of the year, maybe the beginning of next year, but definitely before notification.
Okay. Excellent. Any plans for tier 3 buildings or buildings less than 20,000 square feet?
At the moment, no, I don't know of any plans to do that. Of course, every legislative year, a bill can be sponsored to introduce to tier 3, but at the moment I have no, I'm not aware of any. I don't know if the other members of the team are aware of any, but for right now, no.
Right. Excellent. And I'll just put it out there again for folks on the call that if you do have questions, feel free to throw them in the chat there, and we'll get them as part of the recording. Or if you'd like to come on live to answer it live, we can certainly just raise your hand and we can certainly help with that as well. Another question that came in is asking if there is established criteria for qualified energy managers, training, certifications, etc.
So we're going to have a specific training on the for qualified energy manager training. That's it. Or if you're a qualified person. So essentially, if you are a facilities manager who's not a qualified person, who don't meet those qualifications, you can go through the qualified energy manager training. We don't know what that curriculum looks like, but it's pretty much going to be training on the requirements of the standard. And I think I don't know if did I answer all of that? Is there established criteria for qualified? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that training and 2 years. What is it? 2 years. Sorry, let me get to that slide.
Educational and professional experience with commercial building operations.
Thank you, Donnie.
Yep.
Yes.
The definitions Judy posted in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
Right here. So that's the criteria.
Perfect. And yes, we will be sending out a copy of the slides in this presentation as well in the next couple of days.
Okay. Jeff, I think you missed one. It was about the penalties. When will penalties come into play for tier 2 buildings?
Let's see. My apologies on that one.
No, that's okay. Tier 2, the penalties will be assessed after compliance reporting, which will be in 2027, July 2027. So it would be after that. I'm not sure how soon after that, but it would be after that.
All right. I'm just doing a quick scan here to make sure I didn't miss anything else. So would an association of an energy engineers certified energy manager automatically qualify as an energy manager for this program?
So I believe if you are AEE certified as an energy manager, does that make you a qualified person? Can Judy or
I think
Johnny confirm?
barring their experience, yes, that is one of the qualifications for the qualified person.
So if you're a qualified person and you meet the definition of the qualifications of a qualified person, you could be a qualified energy manager.
Great. Is there Washington State funding to assist a building owner to get technical consultant help with implementation of this program?
So if you're asking if there's funding to help you pay for another consultant, let me see. I know that there's going to be some programs in the works. Right now, I'm not sure the program development is going to happen over the summer. I'm not sure if it's going to be specific to this, but there's going to be a lot of support for Tier 2 buildings. That's for sure. Tier 2 building owners, underserved communities, multifamily, things like that. So just tune in, our programs and this standard evolves very quickly. It's starting to get a lot of funding. So you may see something in the future. Listen out for an announcement through our bulletin.
Perfect. And Judy did put a link in the chat that links everyone to the Commerce's website that goes over the grants and loans offered through Commerce. So certainly use that as a resource as well. Another question says from yesterday's meeting with changes to definitions, thought CEM was taken out of the description for qualified persons or for qualified person.
So from what I remember, that was moved over to the qualified energy auditor. So it's kind of like this Russian doll. If you're a qualified energy auditor, you can be a qualified person. And if you're a qualified person, you could be a qualified energy manager. Is that correct?
Yeah, qualified energy manager. Yeah, and those rules have not been reflected in the standard yet. They will come out. Those changes will come out with once we go through or once we publish the rules through 1390, hopefully this summer, the revised version of the standard. But yes, the CEM certification was moved under the definition for qualified energy auditor, and a qualified energy auditor, as Annalyn stated, would qualify somebody as a qualified person. Qualified.
Yeah. Russian.
Yeah.
It's like a Russian doll, like little tiny one fit into another one and then another one. So it works out.
Yep.
Okay. All right, we've got another one in here. Asking if we can talk about the Tier 2 WNEUI and its comparison with the EUIT. It's the UIT for Tier 1 buildings being referenced here.
So yes. So the target that you're calculating, and please, Johnny, interject when you can. You would calculate the target similar to how you would calculate it for Tier 1 using Section 7 and Table 2A, 7-2A are where the targets are. The instructions are in Section 7, or you can use Form B. We have a EUIT calculator in the on our guidance document page. We can also email that out if you'd like to see it. If there's no target listed, if you're unable to do that, you would use the Donnie, help me out.
Yeah, it's the Energy Stars site EUI, their national median site EUI.
Perfect. All right. One that's come in also is asking if there are any exemption, or what are the exemptions, if any, for nonprofits? Would there be any considerations for the 2021 Seattle if the draft 2021 Seattle Energy Code is approved?
There are no exemptions for nonprofits specifically, only the ones kind of listed here. If I can get my, there we go. Oh, I might have went. Sorry. I think I might have went the wrong way, but there are no exemptions specifically to nonprofits. There'll be support for nonprofits. There may be future funding for nonprofits, but there's no exemption just because it's nonprofit. Here it is. Do you want to add anything to that, Donnie?
Nope, that sounds correct. And then in terms of the Seattle Energy Code, if that's passed or approved, there shouldn't be any influence on the standard tier 2.
Again, you're not meeting a performance metric, you are benchmarking. And we will provide free training on how to benchmark. There's pre-training out there currently. There will also be an incentive for essentially meeting this reporting, your benchmarking, implementing that EMP and O&M.
Okay. I'm just going to do a quick look here, make sure I didn't miss anything, but I believe we've got all the questions, and certainly if you've got questions you'd like answers for, throw them in the chat or raise that hand and we can go live. But Elaine, I believe those are all the questions we have so far.
Okay, let me just advance the slide to where we were, and then I'll talk about kind of what's going to happen in the future. So yesterday we had the tier 1 presentation about this and all the updates to it. Donnie presented. The recording will be on our website. It will be announced in our bulletin. And if you registered, you would get access to the recording link. So that will come next week because we have some questions that we need to answer because we didn't have enough time. So tier 2, if you have questions, didn't come now, but it will come later, please feel free to email us, buildings@commerce.wa.gov, buildings with an S. And we will respond to you as soon as possible. Next week, we have meeting the EUIT for tier 1 buildings, and then the investment criteria, life cycle cost analysis, all fun topics to come. And then if your building has anything to do with decarbonizing district energy systems, we will have a training series after the rules have been codified and adopted. So that won't happen until July. We thank you so much for joining us today and being with us. We appreciate your time and your attention. Thank you on behalf of the Clean Buildings Program. Have a great day.